was more damaging than we seem to realize. One of the things that oil did is, as the non-tradable goods sector, like construction, with plenty of money in the purse of the federal government to pay the Julius Bergers of this world, as that sector took off and trade policy could not adjust properly,
Good day, everybody. Yes, it's a special day. Our icon, our mentor, someone we revere so much, is 70. That's Professor Okedinachi Pat Utomi. Prof is 70. But you know, a man of so many places, a man of so many academic achievements, we need to talk to him. I mean, he loves Nigeria passionately. He's highly patriotic. I don't think that's in dispute. But at 70, we need to, I'm sure he has a lot to reminisce about. He has a lot of experience. I'm one of the people that believe fervently that Nigeria still needs him. I'm sure you've all heard him say anybody that is 70 should not be part of anything political again. I disagree with that. I think he's still a reservoir of a lot of knowledge. So today, the birthday boy is with us. Prof, welcome to Atlanta Discuss Channel.
Thank you so much. I'm glad to be able to join again.
Fantastic. How do you feel to be 70? What's the difference? I mean, what's the feeling like?
Well, I kind of feel lucky.
Okay.
I mean, extremely lucky. I mean, we can take these things for granted, but you know, I wrote something recently, and I said I titled it "Fueled by Grace." It's just pure grace of God, which we sometimes take for granted, that enable us to travel as far as we do. So I feel very fortunate and thankful, really truly grateful for the opportunity to be around at this time and this age. And my hope is that I can be a worthy counselor to another generation to probably avoid the mistakes that we made in our time. So this is really what the moment is like for me.
Oh, fantastic. I know you're very passionate about Nigeria, and I mean, it's common knowledge that the country is not where it should be, you know, but you are in a good position to be asked this question, you know, and I know you've advised the political class a lot, you've said so much, but what do you think is the missing link? Why are we still getting it wrong? More than 60 years after independence, we just keep going around in circles, and what's missing?
Well, we didn't groom leadership succession. What happened to us, unfortunately, is that we had the first generation of leaders who were really selfless and wanted to build for different reasons. Motives were different. Nationality groups were competing with one another about who will most bring progress to their own group. All of those had their positives. It led to the most rapid industrialization, you know, between 1957, 1960. And then, of course, like I've said often, the unfortunate alchemy of soldiers and oil mixing set up this prebendal culture. Now, before we knew it, a certain kind of narcissism, this self-love, overtook the political class. And, you know, patriotism, I mean, they will not accept that they're not patriots. Patriotism kind of slipped a little bit. Self. dominated the way many of them act. I mean, for me, the greatest example of this is for the country to be lying prostrate and have the National Assembly spend money the way it does spend money. It just does not make sense. But they don't see it that way. They see it as, look, this is a scramble, and they have gotten to where they should scramble up as much as they can, grab. But it's sad, very, very sad. And the effect is what we see in terms of the limited progress in Nigeria. However, it's redeemable. I think that we, again, I'd like to return to the mode that Mahathir Mohamad was in when they started the new economic policy that led to eventually Vision 2020, when he invited everybody to be inside the house, pissing out, rather than have some people outside the house pissing in. I do think that these lots are not anti-patriotic. They just don't know enough to do the right thing. Yes, they may have an idea that they are not doing the best thing, but the narcissism has so blinded them that they think, hey, what are these guys talking about? It's my turn. Let me take care of myself. But it's so short-sighted. You know, delayed gratification is very central to effectiveness. And not being able to train a generation of people who understand delayed gratification has really been central to Nigeria's underperformance.
Wow. You're someone that's been everywhere in Nigeria. I'm talking education, where you lived, you know, you're as pan-Nigeria as it can be, from Ibadan to Kano to Guso. You've been everywhere. And I recall you saying once that you always feel safe when you were growing up in all those places, you know. I mean, you have friends in every state of the country. You are widely traveled. I'm sure you have even been to all the 36 states, you know, from all education. Now,
I definitely have that.
Yes, sir. So right now, there's a lot of divide. We're ethnically divided, religiously divided. I mean, what changed? You know, it seems a bit similar to the earlier question, but I'm talking tribe and ethnic, ethnic and religious basis.
Religion.
What changed? Why is it? I have friends that went to federal government college in Maiduguri, and they used to go by road, sometimes train and fly. But now it's almost a scary thing for a child to even go and serve in Zamfara state. So what do you think? Where did we get that wrong also? Is it also based on the elite, or we had it coming?
Unfortunately for us, I think that the effect of oil was more damaging than we seem to realize. One of the things that oil did is, as the non-tradable goods sector, like construction, with plenty of money in the purse of the federal government to pay the Julius Bergers of this world, as that sector took off and trade policy could not adjust properly, we killed off where people made natural money from hard work. The cocoa farmer in Ileoluji moved to Lagos to work for Julius Berger, or to be a messenger in NNPC, where he was paid more than he could get from selling his cocoa. So the next oil price swing is laid off by the construction company who's not getting paid by the federal government, gets into unemployment, and he's used to a kind of so-called nicer life. Now he has no job. And so he's looking for ways to make up. And then the general culture encourages more criminality, more entitlement, and stuff like that. And things people used to consider abomination became something that they took for granted, that's waiting. We can live with it. You know, I tell the story of privilege. I had the great privilege of knowing Chief F.H. Emichi Marinho, who was the first group managing director of NMPC. And Marinho and I, we used to go to the same church in Lagos. And when he decided to write his memoirs, one Sunday he said to me, "I'd like to come by your house." And I was thinking, Mike, a small boy like me, you come to my house. Before I knew what was happening, he was at my gate. And he wanted me to read his manuscripts for his memoirs and provide some counsel. So I thought, okay, I'm honored. I got the manuscript. One of the things that struck me was the importance of his Uriki. You know, I mean, those things meant something to the way you raise a true Omoluabi.
Omoluabi, yeah.
You know, but think of the young men out there, they don't even care or think about these things. And so those values, as they became eroded, as economic challenges grew, all kinds of things began to be part of the environment. And so insecurity increased, and the politics that came after 1999, we didn't get the right kind of people into the political space in the main. There were a few of them, but in the main, it wasn't those that you hoped would be the political class that went in. So these new guys who didn't have the right values, didn't understand what politics was about, a service, everything became money, 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 money. The worship of money crippled Nigeria.
Wow.
And I tell people that I don't have any regard for people who have money. But I have regard is people who I can see what they did, how they made impact, how they created wealth, and so the number of people they employ and stuff like that. I respect that, not the amount of money in their bank account. So anyhow, many people began to build huge personal treasuries from just pillaging the state. And state capture became what Nigeria was known for. And it is not surprising, therefore, that you have all these social challenges associated with easy money and, entitlement mentality, get rich quick and stuff like that.
So is it fair to say the elites are sowing the embers of discord amongst all religion and ethnic groups in Nigeria today?
No. I'm quite clear in my head that these things are done to take advantage of an emotional people. So somebody wants to run for office. I give an example. I mean, I always find ethnicity a very silly thing for whatever reason. Growing up, I was educated to think of the universal dignity of the human person. It is impossible for me mentally to think of somebody, as different from me because he speaks a different language. Because first of all, my first language when I was a kid was Hausa. Then I realized that I nearly lost speaking it. And then, I was living in Ibadan when the Agbekoya uprising was taking place. And as far as I was concerned, it was I'm a Badokini, so,
Oh, God.
And then I see somebody running for public office. And he says to people that, the problem is all these demons from this part of the country or that part of the country. And I'm wondering what they're talking about. Because I grew up seeing all these people in the north, in the west, in the east, as just guys, my friends, But when a politician is desperate to get public office that is not deserving of, then he begins to look for what can make people consider him, even though he's not worthy of the position. Then he looks for things that will divide people. I gave an example in something I wrote. I said, let's take the Igbo community. There are people in the Southeast who say, people from the Midwest who are Igbo speaking, people from Delta, they're Nyama people. They're not proper Igbo people. There are people in Delta who say, we're not Igbos, and all that kind of, stuff. And I said, if somebody in Obosi was running against somebody from Igbuzo and knows that the person from Igbuzo is by far a better candidate, he then begins to think of, this thing is done to Southeast, not to the Igbos. It suddenly becomes Southeast, not the Igbos anymore.
Oh, wow.
And then he will start saying, no, these people are not authentic Igbos. I say, but what is authenticity about ethnicity? Let me give you an example. So you say the person from Ibusa, whose ancestry is from Isu Njaba in what is Imo State, combined with people from Nri, who were their next door neighbors across the Niger, and they all then mixed to be one people. And they are somehow less authentic Igbos because they are on the other side of the Niger. And the people in Obosi, part of who just came down the Niger from Igala, now are claiming to be more authentically Igbo. You just see the silliness of that, but they will say it, they will do it because they're looking for something that will give them advantage in that competition for the position that they are not qualified for, or they're not as good as that person from. I've said this about Igbos versus Yorubas, because Igbos and Yorubas are cousins. In fact, I tell people, if you look at the work that Jared Diamond did from out of Columbia University, if you look at migration and stages when language was developing, if you look at things like body parts, first things language began to identify, you will see that we're describing body parts in Igbo and in Yoruba is very similar. Imu is Imi, Eti is Nti, Enu is Onu, and so on and so forth. And so you see that these things are human inventions to divide people. Because if you authentically look at relationships, you will find that this is the point that Reverend Thompson, Laddie Thompson, makes. In fact, I remember a meeting of Igba, which he called and requested that I host, and I hosted. He had the top Yoruba elite, top Igbo elite in Lagos. Ohaneze presidents, Chief Akinloye, Chifayo Adebanjo, Professor Akitoye, all of them. They were all here in this very living room I'm speaking to you from. And he told the story, Laddie Thompson, of telling somebody about his work and what he was trying to do to bring the Igbos and Yorubas to understand, the importance of their working together. And the guy goes, Igbo, Igbo care. He said he left, continued the conversation. About 10 minutes later, he said to him, ask your wife. Ngozi is fine. the guy who was making all these Igbo, definitely married to an Igbo person.
Oh God.
So it just shows you the silliness of the whole thing.
Oh wow.
But politicians like to exploit such things. Not only in Nigeria, sadly, what we see in the United States today, and that's why the work that people like Joshua Green do at the Center for Moral Cognition at Harvard is of huge interest to me. How do people get to this we and them? Emotion, reason, and the gap between us and them.
Fantastic. Now, let me ask you this. You have always said that for any third world country to get its act together, the diaspora contingent of that country has a strategic role to play. I've heard you, even in my interview with you, you said India is a fantastic parameter and yardstick, and even the Israelis are doing helping their country. It's not as if Israel is big like that, Now, in the case of Nigeria, the world order is changing. That's a given. The Canadians are not hiding it. The Europeans are not hiding it. The Australians are not hiding it. And that India we're always talking about now seems to be a mecca of some sort for people that are looking for new alliances. Now, yes. So I want you to talk to the Nigerian, the diaspora. What do you expect from them going forward? If you believe they have such a very critical role to play, should everybody start coming back home? Should we reorganize ourselves and work together? What is your clarion call, sir?
I don't think we should all start coming home, but the strategic locations that we are at will facilitate the rise of the country if we deploy the advantages that we have where we are. As I've said, if you look at Japan's rise, after the Meiji Restoration, the role of the Japanese diaspora, especially in Germany, to stimulate development of interest in technology is clear. India rising, China rising, all this profited from their diaspora. Now, what it is that the diaspora are in a place where they see the new developments. They become part of it. They have friends who they can work with to rebuild. And those friends can become partners in the leap forward that must take place, that has to take place for progress to happen.
All right. I like that. So at 70, you look back at your experience, your life, and all that. What do you think if you had another opportunity, you would do very differently?
Well, the way I often answer that question is that if I had the opportunity, I'll do everything differently. Because hindsight is 50-50. Or 2020, sorry. 50-50. Hindsight is 2020. However, the values that I have tried to live are, essentially not variable. As I have told people, a good part of what I have done in terms of public life are drawn from, first and foremost, a base of the dignity of the human person. That everybody created by God is infinitely invested with the dignity of its creator. And so when you treat people right, you actually are lifting up the creator that is in them. So you then move from that. I have some basic things like Mahatma Gandhi's 7 deadly social sins have been very important for me. Politics without principles is a waste of time. Wealth without work is truly a sin. And that's why I have contempt for many of these people who parade a lot of money, but I can't see how they made the money. Religion without sacrifice. I mean, religion is about sacrifice. Science without morality or what, all of these are things that I consider fundamental to human nature for civilized living together. I have had the good fortune also of studying the social doctrine of the Catholic Church, looking at the encyclicals that began from Leo the 13th, and we now have Leo the 14th. Leo the 13th wrote the encyclical during the Industrial Revolution, Rerum Novarum. I've actually had the privilege of being referred to as the New Amos, the prophet of social justice. But I don't think of myself in terms of a prophet and stuff like that. I just think of myself as a citizen. Really honestly committed to engaging in public conversation for a path that is just, fair to all, and advances the common good of all. This is central to my life's journey. There are many good people out there, but they don't have the moral courage to stand by that which they deeply believe in. But I made the decision early that even if it hurts, I will stand by what is truthful. And it has hurt many times. But one of the things I've learned is that God is extremely faithful. You know, I have never really had significant lack. I may not have any excess, but I've never really had significant lack. So I am lucky, and I've had energy. And so it's been easy for me, for example, to avoid corruption in Nigeria by simply functioning from Nigeria on 3 different continents. By the time I do a little consulting in Europe, I do a little teaching in the US while living in Nigeria. I can pay my children's school fees. So, somebody refusing to give me a contract will not make a difference to my quality of life, especially since I'm not, I leave detachment. I'm not looking for my Mercedes to be bigger than that of my neighbor. And I have found repeatedly in my life, I told a story recently of the early days of GSM or something. Nigerian Economic Summit, we were in the bus of some very serious big men. And one of them had a full gold cell phone. And I actually had one of those MTN toy phones that, and when the person was using the phone, people were commenting at his phone and commenting. I brought out my own phone and everybody started laughing. And I said to them, well, he makes a call, I make a call. I hear the person hears me. That's all I need a phone for.
Text. Oh, God.
Anyway.
I have one more. Yeah. Okay, I have just one more question for you, and it's a 3-in-1, but I'll put it in a way that won't be too elongated. Nigeria has had a lot of presidents from independence, a lot of them. To some of them, you are frenemies, like you always say. To some, you have interacted with almost all of them on a very personal basis. Yeah. So now my question to you, what makes it 3-1 is, number one, who amongst all of them is your favorite? Maybe somebody you feel Nigeria is not giving enough respect, or who you think had good program. Who's your favorite? That's one. Two, those they call owners of Nigeria, especially the military apparatchik, the old guards, the top guys,
class of 66.
Yeah, class of 66, they call them, the Mina guys, the Abeokuta and all that. What advice will you give them right now before the cookie crumbles? That, okay, guys, that you can still do this for the country. And the third one, the final one is what advice do you have for President Tinubu? Somebody that you know very well also, so what will you advise him? That'll be your last question, sir.
Okay. Well, first of all, in terms of my favorite presidents, their talents spread out amongst the different people who have held that position. And in different areas, they have strengths and then they have weaknesses. I particularly like to think of Yar'Adua and to say, had he been well, maybe Nigeria's fortunes could have been different. He was very open. He had a listening ear, and he had a sense for justice and fairness. He had his shortcomings, but the biggest problem was he was not well. I do think that in terms of really being wise, President Obasanjo is a remarkable person. Very, very clever. He made mistakes. Because he had his push for a certain place in history that distracted him. I think had he not been so distracted by wanting to win the Nobel Prize in around 1999, being the next Mandela and all of that, he could have done a lot more, but he was really distracted in that sense and was out of the country a great deal, trying to fix other countries and all of that. But he's a very, very wise person and really cares for Nigeria. So in that sense, he's special. Babangida was a very shrewd player. There's a book that's about to come out this year or so, in which I wrote a chapter on Babangida. and looked at, his place and play in Nigerian history. So all of these people have, their strengths and some weaknesses, obviously. The one that I really am completely negative on is Muhammadu Buhari. He should never have aspired to lead.
Oh, wow.
He doesn't have it for leadership, and the effect on Nigeria can be seen very clearly. As for the incumbent, incumbent should respect biology. His time has passed. He did well when he was in his prime. Obviously, he had his shortcomings, but right now, the greatest gift he can give Nigeria is to step away from the presidency.
Wow.
It's the greatest gift he can give to Nigeria.
Wow. Thank you, Prof. Well said. You're always going for the jugular, say it as it is all the time. We appreciate you. Happy birthday to you. I know for you, life begins at 70. We won't allow you rest, and we will not allow you go into retirement. You can take that from me. We will never. Yeah, Nigeria needs you. You've written so much. You've said so much. And I've always told people that you're one person that almost everything you said will happen if we don't do this or that has come to pass. So now that push has come to shove now, I think we need to consult you more. So once again, I wish you a happy 70th birthday. Wish you long life and to your wonderful family. Thank you for your time, your leadership, and mentorship always. God bless you, sir. Take care. Bye.
Bless you richly. Thank you.